So hello and welcome to today's video, where today I'm going to be going over the confirmed details from Bully 2, but not the supposed upcoming sequel or next Rockstar game, but rather the cancelled game from 2008. Now before I begin I need to clarify some things. Now first of all, this information was first leaked in July 2019, when a former Rockstar New England employee revealed and confirmed a bit of information. So this video is essentially compiling a list of everything that was confirmed by a former employee, alongside a small brief history of Bully 2's development and a few of my own theories. So consider this video an insight into what could have been, as it's very likely that if Bully 2 ever comes, be it next or sometime in the future, most likely will either not be in the game or be changed drastically. So let's start off with the history of Bully 2's development. Now initially, Bully 2 began development very shortly after the release of Scholarship Edition on the Xbox 360, and the game was not being made by Rockstar Vancouver at all. Instead it was being created by Rockstar New England, who were formerly known as Mad Dog Software, who actually did the ports of Scholarship Edition on the Xbox 360. Now it's important to note that Mad Dog Software weren't acquired by Take-Two Interactive until April 4th, 2008. This is when they were merged into Rockstar Games and became Rockstar New England. Because of this, it seems development of the sequel began sometime around April, maybe June 2008. Now the leaked artworks we got are all 100% genuine. However, they are not from 2017 like the initial leak would have you believe, but once again from around 2008-2009. Now Sean Lee, the composer for the Bully 1 soundtrack, was returning, and he himself confirmed he was working on the sequel in November 2009 during an interview. In this interview, TGL asked Sean, "So you've worked on 2 games, The Getaway and Bully, would you be open to composing soundtracks for other games in the future?" To which Sean replied, "Yes, it looks like I'll be doing the soundtrack for Bully 2 in the not so distant future." So this does confirm that Bully 2 was in development for just over an entire year. However, in 2010, the project was cancelled for undisclosed reasons. It's definitely worth mentioning that Manhunt 3 was also rumoured to be beginning development in mid-2010, and that was also canned for undisclosed reasons. But because of the time it began development, it's very likely that Bully 2 was on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and most likely used the Rockstar Advanced Gaming Engine introduced with Rockstar Table Tennis, and used in every Rockstar game ever since. Now, aside from Beyond 2295's comments, there is absolutely nothing to confirm that Bully 2 is coming next. The setting for Bully 2 would have been an entirely new town. The town name was never confirmed, but as the artworks suggest, we can sort of see what seems to be another small suburban-like town, sticking to the small town theme that Bully 1 was loved for. But there was one thing about the map confirmed, and that is an area of the town had a summer camp, which apparently is where Jimmy would be sent. So now let's go over some of the story details, and these are the ones that are going to be changed most if Bully 2 is happening, of course. The initial story was planned to be a direct sequel following on with Jimmy's story straight after the events of Bully 1's ending, more specifically Jimmy's summer vacation. So to me it seems like the intro would just be Jimmy leaving Bullworth and going home. It sort of ties into Endless Summer like that as well, you know. However, rather than going home, Jimmy would be going to his stepfather's new house. Upon arriving, we would meet our step-siblings, who I assume would be our sort of like Pete characters, if you know what I mean. Maybe Gary. Well, not antagonists, you know what I mean, but sort of like supporting characters rather than, you know, like antagonists. Like Pete, you know what I mean. Because of this, it's very highly likely that the very basic story, or maybe even the basis of the story for the first few missions or so, would have revolved around Jimmy's relationships with his family, you know, his mom, stepfather and his step-siblings. And of course Jimmy getting adjusted to his new life after leaving Bullworth again. It probably would have served the basis for the first part of the story, as there's not much you can really get out of a bad father-son relationship story. Now, while I don't know the story itself, it's interesting that they mention a summer camp specifically. So my theory is the first possible chapter had Jimmy at his new home, but maybe the relationship between his stepfather and him was that bad they forced him to go to a summer camp. And one of the leaked artworks had graffiti of Jimmy's dad in it. So my theory is that Jimmy would have a run-in with the local gang at some point and then start trying to antagonise him. But it's unknown if they were the main antagonists of the game, or just the main antagonist for that one specific chapter like we got in the first game, you know, with like Russell, Johnny and Ted and all that, you know. Now the list of confirmed features is very short too. Pranks were definitely returning, and one of the only confirmed pranks was having a tripwire, which of course is self-explanatory for how that would work. And much like the first game, you would have to evade people and authorities chasing you by hiding in bins. But rather than just running to a bin and hopping in, Jimmy would apparently have the ability to dive into bins instead. When hiding from people, Jimmy could take cover behind walls, trees and columns, and actually shimmy around the sides to stay hidden, much like we get in GTA 4 and pretty much every Rockstar game since that. Arcade minigames were returning, but no specific games were actually confirmed. However, interestingly, in last week's video, well, last week as I'm making this, I did a video on the cut and changed activities of Buddy, which you should also definitely check out. And in that video, I showed an interview with another former employee, Geronimo Barria, who actually did say that he would love to resurrect some of the cut minigames from the first Buddy. Among those lines, whether it's minigames or something else, was there anything in particular that you intended to get in there, wanted to get in there, that you didn't either because of time-wise or because it just didn't work? Yeah, of course, with any other kind of game development, you have a lot of ideas, and at some point you're going to run out of time, whatever the circumstances are. We had other arcade games that hopefully someday we'll be able to resurrect. So it might, but it doesn't confirm anything, but it might confirm that some of the cut minigames from Buddy 1 might have debuted in the sequel instead. Now the list of confirmed characters is also very short, but as we do have the lead character concept to go over, we do have a small list of confirmations. Now of course, as stated, Jimmy Hopkins would be returning as our protagonists, and of course Jimmy's parents would likely play a much larger role this time around. It's also very likely that we would actually have real names for them this time around, as opposed to just knowing them as, well, mom and stepfather. There's also Jimmy's step-siblings who also remain unnamed, but because of the fact they live with Jimmy's stepfather, they're likely his own children who he has full custody of. Also likely seen in the lead character concepts, but it's unknown who they are. Our best bet is it could be the fat girl, or possibly this kid. We also have confirmation of somebody called Abe, the war veteran. It's unknown what role he would play, but as the game was stated to be taking place in the summer camp, at least partially, Abe most likely would have served as some kind of tutorial guide for combat or defence. And of course there's Nick, who might or might not have been another Ernest Jones style character, as in the leaked artworks this guy, who may or may not be him, has a badge which says vote for Nick. There was also no mention of any returning characters, so there's no Pete, no Gary, no Zoe, no Ernest, Johnny, etc. But knowing as Rockstar love to have recurring characters in their story to keep the sort of universe consistent, I wouldn't be surprised if a few fan favourites did return, especially since many people at Bullworth implied they didn't live in Bullworth full time and they were just there for the school year like Jimmy was. I also think the tennis player might have been our athletics coach at the camp, but that's just my thoughts and nothing really confirmed on that. So that's basically it for the cancelled Buddy 2 confirmations. I really do hope we get a sequel soon, and I'd love to see what other ideas Rockstar have for it. So thank you for watching today's video, I hope you enjoyed and have a great day.